Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts remains in concussion protocol, but a recent roster move by the team suggests positive news about his availability for their playoff opener. The Eagles have waived quarterback Ian Book, who joined the team shortly after Hurts suffered a concussion in Week 16. Book served as additional depth behind Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee but did not see any game action during his stint with the team. McKee started for the Eagles in Week 18, while Pickett took the reins in Week 17. Hurts is still in concussion protocol, but there is confidence that the Pro Bowl passer will be able to suit up against the Green Bay Packers for the Eagles' wild card matchup on Sunday. Multiple sources in contact with Hurts have expressed optimism about him playing against Green Bay, but it ultimately comes down to whether he's able to make it through all the stages of the protocol, including being cleared by an independent neurological consultant, ESPN's Tim McManus reported Tuesday. Hurts is the top concern for the Eagles. But Pickett is dealing with a rib injury, which could lead to McKee assuming the number 2 spot if Hurts returns. "I got a lot of confidence in both of the guys," Sirianni said. "When Kenny's had to play, he's played really well. When Tanner has had to play, he's played really well. We got a really good quarterback room." The Eagles are a 4.5-point home favorite for the matchup, per ESPN. The Philadelphia Eagles have waived quarterback Ian Book, which indicates that Jalen Hurts will likely play in the team's playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles signed Book after Hurts suffered a concussion in the Week 16 game against the Washington Commanders. Per Mike Garofalo of the NFL Network, Book could return to the Eagles as a member of the practice squad if he clears waivers. Book joined the Eagles the day after Christmas as Hurts and backup QB Kenny Pickett were dealing with injuries. He did not appear in either of the final 2 regular season games while on the active roster. This was Book's second stint with the Eagles as he was claimed off waivers before the start of the 2022 season and spent the entire season on the active roster. In 2023, the former Notre Dame QB was waived by the Eagles during training camp and briefly spent time on the New England Patriots practice squad. In January of last year, Book joined the Kansas City Chiefs but was cut by the team in August. The New Orleans Saints selected Book in the 4th round of the 2021 NFL Draft and played in 1 game. With Book no longer on the active roster, it's likely the Eagles will have Hurts ready to go on Sunday. It would be huge for the Eagles to have their star quarterback under center as they look to win their first Super Bowl title since the 2017 season. This week, Garofalo said Hurts will likely play on Sunday despite being in concussion protocol. "I don't have any great concern," he said on the Insiders. "I think Jalen Hurts is going to play in this game. He may not get cleared officially out of the protocol until the end of the week. There's really no rush, you don't have to take a guy out of the protocol until it's time to play a game. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to play this coming weekend." Highly productive college career, head coach Nick Sirianni said of Book last month, per the Eagles' official website. "We had an opportunity to get him after he had played a little in New Orleans. Really enjoyed our time with him when he was here. Had some high hopes for him." Eagles coach Nick Sirianni said he is not worried about quarterback Jalen Hurts showing signs of rust should he clear concussion protocol and play in Sunday's wildcard playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. Hurts suffered a concussion in the first quarter against the Washington Commanders on December 22 and sat out the team's final 2 games of the regular season. He remains in the protocol but is progressing through the process, Sirianni has said. "We've got so much faith in him and the things he can do," Sirianni said Monday during his appearance on 94.1 WIP. "This is why you practice the way we practice. Practice is high intensity. We feel like we have a great practice plan and our guys go about their business in practice very game-like. That's where you work out your kinks or anything that you have, just being locked in and focused all week. We've got a lot of faith in Jalen as he gets ready to play the football game." Sirianni confirmed Hurts was present at Saturday's walkthrough prior to their regular season finale against the New York Giants, a game in which many key starters sat with the Eagles locked into the NFC's number 2 seed. He has been in the facility over the past couple weeks, sources said. On Monday, offensive coordinator Kellen Moore indicated he has been able to communicate with Hurts about the game plan for this week. Multiple sources in contact with Hurts have expressed optimism about him playing against Green Bay, but it ultimately comes down to whether he's able to make it through all the stages of the protocol, including being cleared by an independent neurological consultant. There will be much attention paid to whether Hurts is able to practice Wednesday as the Eagles begin their on-field prep for the Packers. Kenny Pickett replaced Hurts in the lineup against Washington but injured his ribs in the game. He started the following week against the Dallas Cowboys and was replaced by Tanner McKee after absorbing a couple hard hits early in the second half. McKee got the start against New York and tossed a pair of touchdowns in a winning effort. Sirianni would not say who the number 2 QB would be if Hurts gets the start. There's always circumstances each and every week of different players dealing with injuries. Moore said on whether it's difficult to game plan with uncertainty at the quarterback position. Certainly quarterback is a very big focus and certainly should be, but there's other positions we've dealt with this, where you're aware of those different variables. The Jacksonville Jaguars have requested to interview Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore for the team's head coaching job. The news comes one day after Jacksonville fired former Eagles Super Bowl winning coach Doug Peterson after 3 seasons. The Jaguars have also requested to interview 7 other coaches, including 4 other offensive coordinators: Buffalo's Joe Brady, Tampa Bay's Liam Cohen, Detroit's Ben Johnson and Baltimore's Todd Monken. The Jags have requested to interview 2 current defensive coordinators, Detroit's Aaron Glenn and Las Vegas' Patrick Graham, as well as former New York Jets head coach and current Green Bay assistant Robert Saleh. This marks the second NFL team interested in hiring Moore as the team's head coach. On Monday, ESPN reported the New Orleans Saints put in a request to interview Moore for the team's vacancy after the team fired Dennis Allen. When asked about balancing head coaching interviews and preparing for the upcoming playoff game against the Green Bay Packers on Tuesday, Moore said, "You don't worry about it too much. Really the focus is on the week and those things take care of theirself," Moore said. "Those things only come to teams that tend to have success in doing things well on the field, so that's where your focus is." Moore is in his first season calling the plays for the Eagles as the team's offensive coordinator. With Moore running the offense, the Eagles once again had one of the most dominant running games in the NFL as Saquon Barkley had a career year, breaking multiple franchise rushing records, and the team won 14 games to win the NFC East. While the Eagles' offense has been one of the best in the NFL, the team's passing game ranks 29th, just ahead of the Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, and New England Patriots. If Moore does land a head coaching job, the Eagles would be looking for a new offensive coordinator for 3rd straight season. Philadelphia lost Shane Steichen to the Indianapolis Colts head coaching job after a Super Bowl run in 2022, and the Eagles fired former offensive coordinator Brian Johnson after a disastrous end to the 2023 season. If the Philadelphia Eagles find a way to make it through the NFC playoffs, there is a possibility that they could get a reinforcement back in time for the Super Bowl. First and foremost, the Eagles need to get through the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round before we can even start to think ahead. The NFC is a gauntlet and it's going to be very difficult. The Eagles should be considered among the top contenders to make a run to the Super Bowl, but there's no reason to get ahead of ourselves yet. While this is the case, if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl, fan favorite defensive end Brandon Graham hinted that there's a possibility he could return on 94 VIP Sports Radio. "Hey man, anything is possible," Graham said. "I just know that right now I'm just grinding. I'm working one game at a time. I'm like, come on y'all, let's get to this one, let's get through this one. Let's make sure that we work to make sure we don't have any hiccups because we do have a great position that we're in. Great team. Man, we just have to make sure that we don't go out there searching for plays. Let them plays come to you and let's do it together." If the Eagles were to make a deep run, having Graham back would be a great lift on the field as he had 3.5 sacks and 20 tackles in 11 games. But, on top of that, he would also provide an emotional edge for the team. He has hinted that this is his last season. If he could return for one more game, the Eagles certainly would want to win for him. The Philadelphia Eagles have been one of the best teams in football all season to this point. Philadelphia was 2-2 to begin the year before its bye week but then went on a 12-1 run to finish the season. The Eagles' lone loss after the bye week came in Week 16 against the Washington Commanders when Jalen Hurts barely played due to a concussion. The Eagles earned the number 2 seed in the NFC and will face off against the Green Bay Packers to begin its hopeful run to the Super Bowl next weekend. Although the Eagles have been great this season, they weren't given great odds to win the Super Bowl by ESPN's Football Power Index. The Eagles actually were given the 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl behind the Detroit Lions, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and Buffalo Bills. The Lions were given a 25.8% chance to win it all, followed by the Ravens at 13.8%, Chiefs at 12.3%, and Bills at 9.7%. The Eagles were given an 8.4% chance. Unsurprisingly, the Eagles have the 2nd best odds to win the Super Bowl in the NFC but still are behind 3 AFC teams. Philadelphia already beat Baltimore once this season. It's somewhat surprising that the Eagles weren't given higher odds. Philadelphia boasts arguably the best defense in the league and plenty of weapons on offense, including arrested Saquon Barkley after rushing for over 2,000 yards. At the end of the day, these numbers don't really mean anything, but it still is surprising. The Philadelphia Eagles made a telling roster move Tuesday, waiving backup quarterback Ian Book just 1 week after signing him to the active roster. The decision offers the strongest indication yet that Jalen Hurts is expected to clear concussion protocol in time for Sunday's wild-card playoff matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Book, who previously spent time with Philadelphia in 2022, was initially signed to the practice squad on December 26 following Hurts' concussion in Week 16 against Washington. He was promoted to the active roster 2 days later and served as a backup for the final 2 regular season games while Hurts remained sidelined. The timing of Book's release is particularly noteworthy given NFL roster rules regarding emergency quarterbacks. Teams must keep their third quarterback on the 53-man roster to utilize the emergency quarterback rule, which allows that player to be activated if the top 2 quarterbacks are unable to continue. By reducing their quarterback room to just Hurts, Kenny Pickett, and Tanner McKee, the Eagles appear confident in having all 3 available for Sunday's playoff contest. The move also suggests positive developments for backup Kenny Pickett, who has been dealing with broken ribs sustained in the Commanders' game. Pickett attempted to play through the injury against Dallas before being forced to exit, leading to McKee finishing that game and starting the regular season finale. Head coach Nick Sirianni has maintained a cautious approach when discussing Hurts' status, noting only that the Pro Bowl quarterback is progressing through the NFL's concussion protocol. The 26-year-old Hurts hasn't practiced with the team since suffering the concussion on December 22, when he was forced to exit after just 12 snaps against Washington.